California, investigative journalist and Daily Ledger contributor Kimberly Dvorak. Kimberly, Russia is standing behind the Assad regime on this one, and the Assad regime says that they're not responsible for this chemical attack and they're blaming it on rebels. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, well, there's two thoughts and two roads of reporting right now. The first is the Pentagon is releasing information stating that they have satellite footage of aircraft leaving this particular airbase, flying over the area where the alleged chemical attacks occurred, and dropping something from the plane. That's one side of the reporting. The other side of the reporting is that this is not, in fact, an attack from the Assad regime. We're getting this information primarily out of Turkey, and President Erdogan there is busy going through the process of being an authoritarian rule and taking away most of the Westernized rules that were in place for years and years and years. So you're looking at who do we trust? Do we trust Turkey on this? And they're saying that the Assad regime did this, and why would we do that? It's only been really a few days since the attack, and I know the president was looking for an element of surprise, but I think that on this one we really need to look to see who really conducted this attack, and is this really in our best interest?
Yeah, this was a surprise. A lot of people didn't think that President Trump would act so quickly, but the question is, was this legal? And do you think this was an appropriate move by the United States?
Well, I think that in the end it will be deemed appropriate and legal, because if we're dealing with weapons of mass destruction, the president has a broad view, and he can go in and do what he wants to do under that that circumstance. We got to war in Iraq under that, so he may not want to follow this. So the question remains, who's giving the information to the president that this is actually the Assad regime? The Assad regime right now, they're winning. They're winning. So why would they do something like that? And the other news that's being reported by NBC this morning is the hospital that was attacked was Al-Nusra, which is Al-Qaeda. So two wrongs don't make a right here, but there's a lot more investigating to be done.
Yeah, the timing is a little bit suspicious, so it makes you wonder why the Assad regime would do this right now to their own people. So the question is, a lot of people are bringing this up. You're looking at who's supporting President Trump right now, and a lot of his typical enemies are coming out and they're fully behind him on this. Like Senator John McCain, who's been outspoken against Donald Trump. We have Senator Tim Kaine, who approves what President Trump did, but says that Trump should have gone through Congress first. And do you think he should have?
Well, I think that in moving forward, I think Congress is going to have to do something. But if you remember, Stephanie, the last 8 years, the Obama administration, tried to, get Congress to get involved, but they're too involved in politics to care about getting the legislation on the floor and getting it to the president, giving him the authorization to use this. I think it's a political, hot rock. It's like they want to throw it around from one side to the other, but nobody wants to be the one holding the hot rock, when the music stops here. And you really have to question if the new administration, the Trump administration, is looking at the potential unintended consequences here. We've got, there are 100,000 Iranian soldiers inside Syria. We have boots on the ground inside Syria. Is this going to turn on our guys? Are our soldiers in Iraq going to now be targets? I mean, is this going to inflame, or is this just is this something that was emotionally thought and driven, that President Trump saw the pictures, they were terrible, and he wanted to go and make a statement, and but if the statement's not met with ISIS and Al-Qaeda, they're going to look at it as a weak and as a pinprick or a poke in the eye, saying this wasn't serious. And then the third leg on this stool is Putin. He might be looking at the weather and seeing that there are some new winds changing, and he's going to start moving west to Odessa. So you just don't know where we're going to go, and that's why the quick response to this is a little alarming at best.
And some experts are really worried about the fact that, let's say U.S. gets rid of Bashar al-Assad, they're worried that that could turn into a Sharia state. I mean, who would come next? Is there any happy ending here?
Yeah, and so far they're not really discussing who would replace Assad. Apparently, it would be some sort of U.S. or EU stooge that would go down there and would meet with the same fate that happened in Iraq when we replaced Saddam Hussein. And also, the Kurds right now, we know they're our friends. They're working inside Syria, and they're working for their independence, and they're also in northern Iraq, and they would like to be an independent nation as well. So are we going to break up the countries and say, okay, we're going to give this to the Kurds and this will go to the Alawites, and pray that the Christians don't get completely slaughtered? Because the one thing Assad was doing was protecting the Christians. And you're starting to see, there are so many things that can happen, and this is going to be in the news, I fear, for a long time.
Yeah, and we have to keep in mind that the president has so much more information, intelligence, so I'm assuming that he probably acted properly. Thank you for your time, Kimberly. Coming up next, the Gorsuch